Hello, dear children. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Jisha Jo. This is my second video on the MCQ series according to the latest ICSE board exam pattern. In this session, we shall be discussing the important MCQs from the chapter Absorption by Roots, the processes involved. Before I move on to the discussion, I would like to tell you that I'm really disappointed to note that a lot of you are actually watching my videos without subscribing to my channel. I would like to remind you to please do support me and subscribe to my channel. Only with your constant support, I will be encouraged to put up more videos. So if you find my videos helpful to you, do subscribe and support my channel and also share with your friends so that they too can be benefited. Okay, so let us start with the discussion of the MCQs from the chapter Absorption by Roots, the processes involved. Question number 1. Which among the following is not a function of root? Moving on to the options. Fixes the plant to the soil. Option B, absorbs water and minerals from the soil. C, conducts water and minerals to the stem. D, helps in transpiration. Can you say which is the correct option? Option A, fixes the plant to the soil. That is a function of root. Roots help in fixing the plant to the soil. Second option, B, roots help to absorb water and minerals from the soil. That is also correct. C, conducts water and minerals to the stem. That is also a function of root. Root helps in the conduction of water and minerals to the stem. The fourth option, option D, helps in transpiration, is not a function of root. So answer is option D, helps in transpiration. Okay, so question is which among the following is not a function of root? Answer, helps in transpiration. Question 2. Phenomenon by which living or dead plant cells absorb water by surface attraction. Moving on to the options. Option A, diffusion. Option B, imbibition. C, osmosis. And D, active transport. So what is diffusion? We know diffusion is the movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration when the two regions are in direct contact. Option B, imbibition. That is the phenomenon by which living or dead plant cells, substances that are made up of cellulose or proteins which are hydrophilic, which has a strong affinity towards water, they imbibe water or moisture and swell up. So this process is called imbibition. Okay, that is absorption by surface attraction. Water is absorbed by attraction to the surface of the molecules. Option C, osmosis. That is the movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. And active transport is the movement of ions across the semi-permeable membrane from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration with the expenditure of energy. So just think of the definitions of the different processes or the different phenomena given there as options, and we come to the conclusion that option B is the correct answer, isn't it? Phenomenon by which living or dead plant cells absorb water by surface attraction. Absorbing water by surface attraction is called adsorption. So living or dead plant cells absorb water by surface attraction. The phenomenon is imbibition. So answer is imbibition. Question 3. Which among the following mineral element is not absorbed as salts? So we know mineral nutrients are necessary for the plants, and these nutrients are absorbed in two forms. Some of them are absorbed as salts and some others are absorbed as ions. Okay, so here the question is, which among the following mineral element is not absorbed as salts? Those mineral elements which are absorbed as salts are nitrates, phosphates and sulfates. And the mineral elements absorbed as ions are potassium, calcium, chlorine and magnesium. So which is the correct answer here? Which among the following mineral element is not absorbed as salts? Answer is option B, potassium. We know nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur, they are absorbed as salts in the form of nitrates, phosphates and sulfates. So correct answer is option B, potassium. Question 4. Rupturing of the seed coat during seed germination is due to. Options are osmotic pressure, Turger pressure, imbibition pressure and wall pressure. Now what is osmotic pressure? The pressure that is developed inside a cell due to osmosis. So that is the minimum pressure which is needed to prevent the entry of water into the cell. That is osmotic pressure. Turger pressure, it occurs in a turgid cell. When the cell is completely turgid, the pressure exerted by the cell contents on the cell wall is called as Turger pressure. Imbibition pressure is the pressure developed as a result of imbibition. We know what is imbibition. Imbibition is the phenomenon by which living or dead plant cells absorb water by surface attraction. So the first step in seed germination is the imbibition of water. So as a result of imbibition, the seed coat swells up, and rupturing of the seed coat is caused due to imbibition pressure. Option D is wall pressure. This pressure also occurs in a turgid cell. Wall pressure is the pressure exerted by the cell wall on the cell contents in a turgid cell. So what is the answer? Rupturing of seed coat during seed germination is due to option C, imbibition pressure. So imbibition pressure, as I told you, the first step in seed germination is the imbibition of water by the seed coat. So as a result of this imbibition, pressure is developed inside, and this pressure is called as the imbibition pressure, which causes the seed coat to rupture in the case of seed germination. So answer is imbibition pressure. Moving on to question 5. When a cell is placed in a beaker containing distilled water, what will be the direction of movement of water? So read the question once again. When a cell is placed in a beaker containing distilled water, what will be the direction of movement of water? So distilled water, we know it is a hypotonic solution. The solute concentration is very less, or we can say it is 0. In the case of distilled water, we know the amount of water. What is a hypotonic solution? A solution in which the concentration of water is much more than what is in the cell sap. Okay, so when a cell is placed, always we know water has a tendency to move from a region of its higher concentration to a region of its lower concentration. So when a cell is placed in a beaker containing distilled water is a hypotonic solution. So water, the amount of water is more in distilled water than in the cell sap. Okay, so what will be the direction of movement of water? Option A, cell to the beaker. B, beaker to the cell. C, no net movement. D, cell to beaker and vice versa. Which is the correct answer? Since the beaker contains distilled water, water moves from, did you get the answer? Shall I say the answer? Answer is option B, beaker to the cell. Is it correct? Beaker contains distilled water, so water moves from a region of its higher concentration. So the amount of water is more in the distilled water when compared to the amount of water inside the cell, isn't it? So water naturally moves from the beaker to the cell. So that is the answer, beaker to the cell, option B. Question 6. Which among the following is not a semi-permeable membrane? So what is a semi-permeable membrane? Semi-permeable membrane is a membrane which allows the passage of only selected substances. So selected molecules only are allowed to pass through a semi-permeable membrane. The options are egg membrane, cellophane paper, muslin cloth, animal bladder. So question is, which is not a semi-permeable membrane? So the answer is, did you get the answer? Option C, muslin cloth. We know muslin cloth is a freely permeable, it's regarded, or it's an example of a freely permeable membrane. Okay, because the pores of the muslin cloth are large enough to allow even the solute molecules to pass through along with the solvent molecules. So, the other three, egg membrane, cellophane paper and animal bladder, are semi-permeable membrane, but muslin cloth is not a semi-permeable membrane, but it is a freely permeable membrane. Answer is muslin cloth. Question 7. The phenomenon by which mineral elements are absorbed by the root. Okay, options are option A, osmosis, B, diffusion, C, active transport, D, passive transport. So just think of the definitions of each of the processes there. Osmosis, we know it is the movement of water molecules across a semi-permeable membrane from a region of its higher concentration to a region of its lower concentration. Diffusion, it is the movement of substances from a region of their higher concentration to a region of their lower concentration when the two regions are in direct contact. That means there is no semi-permeable membrane separating the two regions. Active transport, we know inside the cells of the root cell sap is at a higher concentration than the soil water. This is necessary for the absorption of water. We are studying it as an important characteristic of root. One of the important characteristics of root which enable it to absorb water is that the cell sap of root hairs is at a higher concentration than the soil water. So what actually here for the absorption of mineral elements, we know the mineral elements are at a higher concentration inside the cell sap than the soil solution, than in the soil water. So movement of the ions occurs from a region of their lower concentration, which is the soil water, into the cell sap, which is the region of higher concentration. So and it requires energy because the movement of molecules or ions is from a region of lower concentration to a region of their higher concentration. That is active transport. Passive transport, it is the same as diffusion, that is the movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration. Here no expenditure of energy is there. So what is the correct answer? The phenomenon by which mineral elements are absorbed by the root, it is, what is the answer? Option C, active transport. As I told you, the cell sap of the roots are at a higher concentration than the soil water. So, mineral elements will be absorbed against their concentration gradient with the expenditure of energy. So, the answer is active transport. Now moving on to the next question, question number 8. Pressure exerted by the cell contents on the cell wall in a turgid cell. So we have already discussed this. So in a turgid cell, the pressure that is exerted by the cell contents on the cell wall is called as turgor pressure. And in response to the turgor pressure, the cell wall exerts a pressure on the cell contents, and this is called as wall pressure. Now we have two more options there. We have discussed option A and option C. Option B, what is root pressure? Root pressure is the pressure that is developed in the roots due to the cell to cell movement of water in the root. Okay, that is root pressure. Root pressure helps in the movement of water upwards in the case of, that is one of the force responsible for the ascent of sap in small plants, small herbaceous plants. If we cut the stem close to the soil, we can see that the cell sap oozes out from the cut end. This is due to root pressure. So that is root pressure. And osmotic pressure, we have already seen what is it. So what is the answer here? What is the correct answer? The pressure exerted by the cell contents on the cell wall in a turgid cell. Answer is option A, turgor pressure. Okay, so I hope there is no doubt till here. Now we are moving on to the next question, question number 9. Which among the following is not an application of plasmolysis? So for that, what is plasmolysis? We know it is the shrinkage of the cell contents away from the cell wall. Okay, that is, when does it take place? When the cell is placed in a hypertonic solution. Hypertonic solution is a solution whose concentration is much more than that of the cell sap. So naturally what happens? Water moves out of the cell. And this is this causes plasmolysis, or the shrinkage of the cell contents away from the cell wall. So here question is, which is not an application of plasmolysis? Options are option A, salting of meat. Salting of meat is an application of plasmolysis. In pickles and all, we add a lot of salt. Salt is added to the pickles. That is one of the applications of plasmolysis. So to kill the bacteria, if in case that is plasmolysis occurs from the bacterial cells, the meat or the pickles will not get destroyed or damaged. Okay, so that is an application of plasmolysis. B, killing of weeds in gardens. So that is also an application of plasmolysis. Salt solution is added to the roots or sprayed onto the roots of weeds to kill them in lawns. When weeds grow in lawns, a salt solution is sprayed onto the roots of the weeds. So what happens is that since salt solution is a hypertonic solution, plasmolysis occurs from the root hair cells, and as a result the weed will die. Same thing occurs, that is the third option, gargling with salt water. That is also an application of plasmolysis. So the bacteria or the germs will be drained off the water, because we are using salt solution or salt water for gargling. So the water will be drained out from the bacteria or the germs, and that is also an application of plasmolysis. Option D, absorption of water by root. The phenomenon involved is osmosis. Okay, roots absorb water by the process of osmosis. So what is the correct answer? Which among the following is not an application of plasmolysis? Option D, absorption of water by roots. Question 10. Upward transport of water through the xylem in tall trees is mainly due to root pressure. Option B, capillarity. Option C, cohesion and adhesion. And option D, transpiration, pull and cohesion. So let us look at each option. We know we have already discussed what is root pressure. Root pressure is the pressure that is developed inside the root as a result of the continued inward movement of water through the cells of the root, and this is necessary for the ascent of sap upward through the stem. That is correct. Root pressure is needed for, it is one of the forces contributing to the ascent of sap. Now option B is capillarity. What is capillarity? We know the xylem vessels are so thin, the diameter of the xylem vessels is very narrow, and this narrow diameter of the vessel causes the water to rise from a lower level to an upper level in the xylem. So capillarity is also an important force contributing to the ascent of sap. Okay, and so that is option B, capillarity. I hope that is clear to you. That is the very small diameter of the xylem vessels causes the water to rise from the lower level to the upper level, to fill up the vacuum that is created at the upper level, which is caused by the loss of water as a result of transpiration. So water moves from a lower region to a higher region in the xylem vessel. Option C, cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion is or cohesive force is the force which causes the water molecules to remain together. That is cohesion. The tendency of water molecules to remain together is called cohesion, and adhesion is the tendency of water molecules to stick on to the surfaces of the xylem vessel or the cells surrounding them. So cohesion and adhesion are also involved in the movement or upward movement of water. The question is, upward transport of water through the xylem in tall trees is mainly due to, now let us look at the fourth option, transpiration, pull and cohesion. So transpiration pull, we know as a result of transpiration, as water is lost from the surface of the leaves by transpiration, water is pulled up. As a result, water is pulled up from a lower region. And this is when the water is pulled up, the water has to remain together. The water has to remain joined together to produce a continuous column of water inside the xylem. So that is transpiration pull and cohesion. Transpiration pull is the pull exerted in the column of water, in the water column in the xylem as a result of transpiration. And just transpiration pull alone will not help in the upward movement of water. The water molecules have to remain close together. So which is the correct option? As we know, all the four options given are forces contributing to the ascent of sap. But look at the question, upward transport of water through the xylem in tall trees is mainly due to, in tall trees. All are forces contributing, but the main force contributing to the upward movement of water in the xylem in tall trees is due to transpiration pull and cohesion. Okay, all are forces contributing to the ascent of sap, but in tall trees the upward transport of water through the xylem is mainly due to transpiration pull and cohesion. So the correct answer is transpiration pull and cohesion. Question 11. Root hairs absorb water when the external medium is hypotonic, hypertonic, isotonic, none of the above. So what is the correct answer? Hypotonic solution is a solution whose concentration is less than that of the cell sap, isn't it? Hypertonic, that means the less than, the solution is less concentrated, means the amount of water will be more, whereas hypertonic solution is a more concentrated solution. So in a more concentrated solution the amount of water will be less. And isotonic solution is a solution whose concentration is the same as that in the cell sap. or same as in that on the other side of the cell membrane. So, which is the correct answer? Water, as we have already seen, water moves from a region of higher concentration, from its higher concentration, that is where the amount of water is more, to a region where the amount is less. So, what is the correct answer? Option A, hypotonic solution. Root hairs absorb water when the external medium is hypotonic. So moving on to the next question, that is question 12. The path of water and solutes from the soil to the xylem of the root is. So for this, answering this question, you should be familiar with the figure of the cross section of root in your text. Okay, we have a figure showing the diagrammatic representation of the cross section of a root. So just think of that figure, just have that figure in your mind, and just think of the different parts through which, or different regions through which water enters. So first, from the soil, water enters into the root hair. We know root hair is the unicellular extension of the epidermis of root. So water has entered into the root hair, that is the epidermis. Then from the epidermis, the inner region, inside the epidermis, we have the cortex. Then the innermost layer of the cortex is the endodermis. Inside the endodermis is the pericycle, and inside the pericycle, or inner to the pericycle, is the xylem and phloem, which are arranged on alternate radii, meaning xylem seen alternating with phloem. So that is how we see the xylem and phloem. Arrangement of xylem and phloem is in alternate radii in the roots. So what is the correct option? From the soil into the root hair, from the root hair to the cortex. So as we can see, there are three options which show that. Then just look at the next word, from the cortex to the pericycle. Option A shows from the cortex to the pericycle. Option C, from the cortex to the endodermis. Option D, from the cortex to the epidermis. So option A and option D are wrong, because the innermost layer of the cortex is not epidermis or the pericycle, that is the endodermis. From the endodermis, water reaches the pericycle, and through the pericycle, water enters into the xylem. Okay, so the correct answer is option C, soil, root hair, cortex, endodermis, pericycle, and finally xylem. Question 13. Loss of cell sap through a cut stem. What is the answer? Loss of cell sap through a cut stem. Answer is, let us look at the options first. A, guttation. Guttation. What is guttation? That is during early mornings you can see drops of water on the ends of leaf veins, on the leaf endings you can see drops of water. This process is, or this loss of water as water droplets through the vein endings, is called as guttation. Bleeding. Bleeding, it is the loss of cell sap through the cut end of the stem. Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of water vapor through the aerial parts of the plant. Ascent of sap is the upward movement of water and minerals through the xylem. So what is the correct answer? Loss of cell sap through a cut stem. Answer is option B, bleeding. Question number 14. A cell placed in a certain solution bursts after some time. Which among the following is the kind of solution? So let me read the question once again. A cell placed in a certain solution bursts after some time. When does a cell burst? When water enters into the cell. Okay, so the cell bursts when the amount of water content in the cell is much more than what it can accommodate, isn't it? So here the movement of water is from the solution into the cell. That is the reason why the cell has bursted. Which among the following is the kind of solution? So water, so we have from the first sentence we came to the conclusion that water has entered into the cell, that is endosmosis have taken place. So that means water has entered into the cell from the outer solution. So as we have already seen, water moves from a region of its higher concentration to a region of its lower concentration. Look at the options. Option A, hypertonic solution. Hypertonic solution is a highly concentrated solution. Highly concentrated solution, you can see that the water content is less, isn't it? So there is no chance for the water to enter into the cell from a hypertonic solution. Hypotonic solution is a less concentrated solution. So water, the amount of water in a hypotonic solution will be more than what is inside the cell. Naturally, endosmosis will take place when the cell is placed in hypotonic solution. Option C, isotonic solution, there will be no net movement of water. And D, a highly concentrated sugar solution is actually a hypertonic solution. So what is the correct answer for that question? Read the question once again. A cell placed in a certain solution burst after some time. Which among the following is the kind of solution? Answer is option B, hypotonic solution. Now the last question from this part, question 15. Guttation is observed during. So what is guttation? We have already seen. That is the loss of water in the form of water droplets through the hydatodes or through the vein endings is called as guttation. We normally observe guttation during early mornings. Okay, not during mid-noons, not during evenings or afternoons. It is during early mornings. That is when the root pressure is high enough to force the water through the stem. So the water comes out because of the hydrostatic pressure that is developed inside the xylem. Because of the continuous absorption of water, pressure is developed inside the xylem, which causes the water, excess water, to come out through the vein endings. This is what is guttation. So it normally occurs during early mornings. When there is no transpiration taking place in early mornings, guttation occurs. So guttation is observed during option C, early mornings. So with that, we have come to the end of this session. I hope this session is clear to all of you. If you have any doubts regarding any of the questions, please ask your doubts and give your suggestions in the comment section. Thank you.